Hello, Ginette.
Hi.
Hello everybody. I've got Ginette Davies with me, who's very kindly agreed to an interview, as she has just finished the Fly First Love Yourself course, which was a 12-week course. And also, she's been doing one-to-one sessions with me. So she's agreed to be interviewed about predominantly the Fly course, which was set up to look at how we can understand our addictions and habits and anxieties as something different and not really being about us. So to just give you a new understanding of how you can kind of move through that experience rather than being caught up in it. So I just want to welcome Ginette and thank you for your time. So the first question I have for you is what I ask everybody, which is, what first sparked your interest in kind of coming into this course that I ran?
I think for me, I'd been trying to deal with eating issues and anxiety, stress, depression, kind of all mixed in together. And I tried lots of different things and nothing seemed to work. And I was just I was at the end of my tether. I was just kind of at rock bottom, and I just stumbled upon She Connects, and it just seemed to come at exactly the right time. And so I kind of I looked at that and I posted in that and sort of became an active member in there. And then, so when Fly came along, it just seemed like the right thing for me to do. Just seemed to get me when I really needed it.
So what was it like, the initial attraction? So you say you came in, you stumbled upon She Connects, which is my Facebook group. For those of you that don't know, that's the free group. What was it that kind of lured you in? What was it that you were struggling with, I think, at the time? And what was it that sort of lured you into?
I think it was the idea sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry, I'm usually really good with my words and I've completely gone blank.
You don't have to apologize. Okay, so you don't have to apologize ever. One of the things you said was, I tried everything else. So talk to us about where you were, like in your, what was your day-to-day experience like for you prior to coming onto the course?
I was just in a spiral of feeling bad about myself, feeling guilty about my choices, about my food choices, about how I looked, about how I felt, about whether I was, whether I was being good enough at work, as a mum, as a person, as a friend, and always questioning myself, always doubting myself, and never feeling worthy and never feeling good enough. I was incredibly self-critical, had incredibly high standards, which of myself and of other people, which were so high that could never really be met, and therefore I was always unhappy. I never felt comfortable and happy, and I think just Fly just seemed to be something that I understood from kind of almost from the beginning, that it was that I needed to feel enough in myself and feel good about myself in order to be happy, that it came from me. And I think that was something that I really liked and got, and so I wanted to explore that more.
That's a lovely answer. Thank you. So what was life like for you then? Like, it sounds like you had huge amounts of judgmental, critical thinking, which I'm sure quite a lot of the women who may be watching this can resonate with. And I know that that's how I used to live my life. So what would life look like for you with all of that kind of heaviness?
It was just always a struggle. I'd wake up feeling stressed about the day. I didn't like looking in the mirror because it made me really sad and made me unhappy. And that would set the tone for the day. My day would be set up by how I felt about myself. And so there was already that level of stress and anxiety going into anything. So I took that stress into my job, which demotivated me. I took that stress into dealing with my children, which meant that I didn't deal with things very well, into my relationship with my husband. It impacts on everything.
And you mentioned anxiety there. So what was that like for you as well?
That was quite hard because I just have that anxiety about a lot of things. It would stop me doing things that I would potentially want to do because I was just too anxious about failing or about not being good at something. And so it just really impacted on every part of my life. And I would just get into these cycles of binging and then feeling bad about myself, and it would just be a constant. I'd come back out the other side and then I'd go back in, and my mental health was just so bad.
Well, that was your experience, that your mental health was bad. Yeah. Okay, so you come into the course, you do some work with me, and we have the course is set out in modules. So we had 11 modules over 12 weeks, and there were 10 women in. So just sort of set the background, and I would release one module per week. Week 6 was implementation week, and I buddied up the 10 of you, so you each had like a buddy. Can you tell me like how your experience of the group was and the program?
It was really good. It was really nice to be part of something with a small group of ladies, and we had weekly chats, which it was just lovely to be able to share experiences and give each other advice and support. And it was just a really good experience, a really positive one.
Thank you. Well, I think you being in the group was also the reason for that. What about the modules did you find the most helpful?
I think it was really good to take one bit per week and look at it in depth. And also there were questions on there or sort of little things that we had to do, which then put everything into context for us. And I think that was really valuable. I think it was really important for us to think about how it impacted on how it affected us. The one that really resonated with me was the write a letter to myself. And it took me a couple of weeks before I could actually sit and write it, partly because I knew that it was something that I would need to sit quietly away from my children to do, but also because I had to, that was very early on in the course, and so I felt I needed a little bit of time to be ready to write it. And then when I did, I literally just wrote and didn't really think about it in too much detail. I just wrote and saw what came out. And I was really shocked by what came out and what things I'd been holding on to in anger and in just experiences that I thought I kind of dealt with and got over. And I'd realized that I'd been holding a lot of anger and resentment over those things against myself. And that was a bit of a turning point for me, because I could then deal with it, because I realized that there was this subconscious stuff going on.
Okay, so that was the turning point. So what would you say, like, insightfully you gained from doing the program?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question. A lot of insight. I think like I said, I was incredibly self-critical. So insightfully, I realized that I had a lot of good thoughts and good ideas inside me, but I was allowing the negativity to take over, that negative voice to shout louder. And so the course really helped me listen to the insightful voice and let that shout louder. And so that has made a real difference to how I deal with situations, and it stopped me being self-critical, which has stopped a lot of the cycle.
So one thing you said there, so some people may not understand the difference between the critical voice and the insightful voice. Are you willing to share what your understanding of that is?
So you have these voices. One is the critical, the one that goes straight to the negative, the one that is not the truth. It's the one that tells you things about yourself. It's the one that makes you feel awful. It's the one that makes you potentially make bad choices, but it's not your true voice. Your true voice is a kind one, is the intuitive one. It's the one that, if you really listen to, tells you what you really need. It tells you what your body kind of wants to eat, and it tells you how you really would like to be and what you'd like to do. And it can be hard to listen to it, because if the negative one's been there for so long, that's the one you just go to. Because it's habit and it's something you've always known, and in a weird way it's comfortable, even though it's horrible. But it's the one, it's the autopilot one. But if you start listening to the intuitive one and it comes through more and more, you find that negative one doesn't shout as loudly.
Yeah, so it has less power.
Yeah.
So those are great insights, and I'm wondering, like, now you've come to the end, like, I see this as a continual learning journey, because obviously we are complex beings and life happens. How would you say your day-to-day experience has changed since you've done the course?
I mean, the self-criticism has really reduced. I mean, whereas before, if doesn't matter what I'd eat, if I felt it was in the bad box, that food that is a treat or a cheat, or unhealthy food or anything, my self-criticism would come in, and, oh, you can't have that, and there'd be all that guilt of eating it and everything. I don't have that now. I can make those choices, and even if I have something that comes into those boxes, I don't attribute guilt and negativity towards it, which means that I don't get on that spiral of anxiety and stress and depression, and then have that cycle of eating and bad thoughts. So it's definitely helped on that.
So day-to-day life is a little easier, a little freer?
Yes. Yeah. Things don't feel as heavy. My head doesn't feel as heavy, because it isn't full of negativity. And it's not the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, of like, oh, I did this, or I ate that, or I feel rubbish, or I feel, I don't want to look in the mirror. And I'm comfortable with how I am and who I am and where I am now, which I haven't felt in a very long time.
Well, that's just fantastic. I think even if I just cut that snippet, that's an amazing. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased, Ginette. So you'd say, if anyone was thinking about doing the course, that it would be totally worth it?
It's absolutely worth it. Absolutely. I couldn't recommend it. I couldn't recommend it more highly. It's just such a good course, and a good range of things to think about, and it's just freeing to come out the other side.
Oh, that's just amazing. And I would say that, like, for you, it takes so much courage to look at these things and and see a different way and be open to seeing a different way. And this interview will go on my podcast, which is called Courage, Dear Heart. So I was wondering, on that note, like with the courage and having the courage to see something and look within, how do you think that's played out for you? Can you see that you've had the courage to do that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's hard. It's still hard for me to accept that sort of thing. I'm still I'm still a work in progress here. I'm still obviously growing and learning. But yeah, I do see that. It does take courage to stand up and say, this is me. This is where I am in my life. This is what I'm struggling with, and I need help, and to ask for it and to work at it.
And to know that you're much, much more than you think you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Well, that is amazing. I don't know if I can think of any other questions, but do you have anything else that you want to say about any of it?
I don't think so. I can't think of anything.
Well, I'm really, really thrilled to have you on this interview and have you on the podcast and YouTube. And I am really honoured that you chose to take this journey with me and trust yourself and trust me. So thank you. And I will see you soon.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.